This potato planting method was hidden from gardeners for 30 years. Fertilizer stores don't want you to know about it. Your parents grew potatoes on a tiny patch of land and fed the whole family for a year, with extra to spare for the neighbors. You work the same soil, put in more effort, and still end up with small tubers, rot in the ground, and a harvest that barely lasts through winter. Nothing about the land changed. What changed is that the real method got buried in old farm manuals and the memory of people who are almost gone now, replaced by a watered-down version passed from neighbor to neighbor. Today we're bringing that method back, so hit subscribe now so the next video actually reaches you instead of getting lost in the algorithm. Start with depth, since this is where most gardeners go wrong before they even cover the seed. Potatoes don't tunnel downward like carrots. They form tubers on stolons, horizontal shoots that spread sideways just under the surface, where the soil is warm and breathing. Bury a tuber 25 centimeters down and you've dropped it into cold, dense earth that takes forever to warm, and it sits idle while a properly planted one is already sending out roots. The correct depth is 8 to 10 centimeters in normal soil, and 6 to 8 centimeters in heavy clay, since clay warms slowly and holds moisture too tightly for a deep planting to thrive. Spacing is the next mistake, and it's costly. Cramming bushes 30 centimeters apart feels efficient, but a mature root system spreads 50 to 70 centimeters wide, with stolons reaching another 30 to 40 centimeters in every direction. Plant too tight and those roots collide within weeks, fighting each other for water and nutrients instead of growing freely. Space plants 45 to 60 centimeters apart within the row, and 70 to 80 centimeters between rows. That gap isn't wasted ground, it's where the roots do their invisible work. A properly spaced bush can produce 15 to 20 tubers instead of 5 to 7, meaning a bigger total harvest from the same plot. Seed preparation is where the real difference gets made, and it starts 6 weeks before planting, not the morning you decide to plant. Pull your seed potatoes out of storage and lay them in a single layer somewhere cool and bright, around 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, out of direct sun. This greening process produces short, thick green sprouts about 1.5 to 2 centimeters long, nothing like the pale, stretched threads that grow in a dark cellar. A green tuber jumps straight into active growth the moment it hits soil, while a dark sprouted one wastes weeks waking up, and its fragile shoots snap off during planting. If a seed tuber weighs more than 100 grams, cut it. A whole large tuber carries 8 to 12 eyes, and every eye tries to grow its own stem, leaving you with a crowd of weak, competing shoots pulling from one food source. Cut it lengthwise, from the top down through the navel end, into pieces with 3 or 4 eyes each, since eyes cluster more heavily near the top and cutting crosswise can leave a piece with none at all. Let the pieces dry at room temperature for 2 days so the cut forms a protective layer, then dust it with wood ash to disinfect and add potassium exactly where it's needed. Feed the soil before the tuber ever goes in. Work well-rotted compost or humus into the bed the previous fall, using 1 full bucket per square meter, or a bucket and a half if you can spare it. Fresh manure or unfinished compost added in spring burns young roots with ammonia and raw acids, so if fall preparation wasn't possible, only add compost that's been breaking down for at least 2 years, dark and crumbly with no strong odor. At planting, drop a handful of wood ash and a handful of compost into each hole before placing the tuber sprout side up. The ash neutralizes acidic soil, supplies potassium and calcium, and keeps wireworms away, while the compost feeds the roots from day one. Skip mineral fertilizers and fresh manure at this stage. Orient your rows north to south so both sides get equal sunlight through the day, instead of one row shading the other for half the afternoon. Potatoes are sun hungry, and uneven light means weaker foliage and fewer tubers. Now for the part almost everyone shortchanges: hilling. One lazy mound around the stem is not hilling, it's decoration. Do it 3 times. The first comes when the foliage reaches 10 to 15 centimeters, piling soil almost to the top of the plant so the buried stem sends out fresh shoots, each one a potential new tuber. The second follows 2 to 3 weeks later, building another tall mound once the bush has filled out, always using loose, moist soil so it settles without leaving air pockets that starve the roots. The third happens 2 to 3 weeks before flowering, after which you stop entirely, since disturbing the soil once tubers are forming damages them. A single low hilling gives 5 to 8 stolons per plant. 3 proper hillings can give 15 to 20, the entire yield gap most gardeners never close. Watering matters at exactly 3 moments. 2 to 3 weeks after planting, water deeply so the roots develop strong instead of shallow. During budding and flowering, water generously, since this is when the plant sets its tuber count, and dry soil here permanently caps your harvest. 2 to 3 weeks after flowering, Keep watering so the tubers gain size instead of staying small. Then stop completely 3 to 4 weeks before harvest, letting the soil dry so the skins toughen for storage instead of staying thin and fragile. Always water in early morning or evening, never under a hot midday sun. For wireworms, skip the poison. A handful of ash in every planting hole creates an environment they avoid. Sowing mustard as a cover crop repels them further, and rotating your potato bed every 3 to 4 years starves out any population already built up in the soil. Harvest by the plant, not the calendar. Wait until the foliage has fully yellowed and collapsed, then test a tuber by rubbing the skin with your thumb. If it rubs off easily, give it another week. Dig only in dry weather, cure the tubers in open air for 3 to 4 hours, then let them air out under cover for several more days before storage. Keep them at 15 to 18 degrees Celsius for the first 2 to 3 weeks to heal any nicks and reveal rot, then drop to around 2 degrees Celsius for long-term keeping. Every 3 to 4 years, replace your seed stock with fresh, certified potatoes, since self-selected seed accumulates viral disease and yields keep shrinking.